What up, YouTube? B-Side here once again. And today I wanted to talk about the Nvidia DLSS4 update that we have for the 40 series cards as well. I wanted to talk about the version of the GeForce driver that it has, and I'm going to show you the way you can actually set it up so that you can reap the benefits from the new DLSS profile inside of the Nvidia app. As many of you might know by now, Nvidia upgraded their drivers with the release of the 50 series to version 572.16. And in this version, it says that the game-ready drivers for DLSS4 with multi-frame generation is for games like Alan Wake 2, Cyberpunk 2077, Hogwarts Legacy, and Star Wars Outlaws. Those are the 4 games so far that has the new transformer model alongside with the new ray reconstruction and the new DLSS4 profile, as well as frame generation ×2 for our 40 series cards. We are going to test some games, but I'm actually going to show you real quick here. In order to reap the benefits from it, you got to go into the graphics settings. In the global profile, you don't have that option, so you have to go into the game profiles and look for it yourself. Like, for example, in Cyberpunk 2077, although it has the transformer model, right, the preset for the transformer model, down here in the driver settings, you have to set the DLSS override, which is what they call it now, to override any DLSS profile now. And what you got to do, instead of using the 3D applications, you use different settings for each DLSS technology. Now, Cyberpunk 2077 was upgraded to 2.21 prior to the drivers being released. So they don't have frame generation ×2. And this option right here enables that. So in order for you to do that, you have to click on use different settings, and then instead of using the application settings, you go to the latest frame generation, the latest ray reconstruction, and the latest super resolution, so you can reap all the benefits from the new DLSS transformer model. The same goes for Alan Wake 2. These are the only 2 games that I have that actually support the transformer model to its full extent. So in order for you to actually reap the benefits from frame generation, because I think it might not lock it, but Alan Wake 2 was updated today, so it might use the ×2 frame generation automatically by default. But just in case, to play it safe, I still changed it to the latest frame generation so that you can see during gameplay, because we're gonna test these 2 games out once I'm done explaining this, so that you could see the big difference in frame generation with our 40 series cards. Like, I know that the 50 series cards has the multi-frame generation ×2, and I'm pretty sure most reviewers and content creators that you have already seen multi-frame generation ×4, but with the 40 series cards, you're able to reap the benefits from that in the games that actually support it. Now, for games that don't support DLSS4, one good example of this is A Plague's Tale Requiem, which I'm going to test in another video using lossless scaling, so stay tuned for that video, because I did actually read a user suggestion, so I'm going to make a video using those lossless scaling settings that he presented, and I'm able to show you in a couple of games what that lossless scaling does, and if it gives you the closest performance to the 5090 as of now. But in Plague's Tale Requiem, you are in the driver settings, and then when you go here, it only supports the latest super resolution, which is preset J. You click apply, and it has the transformer model. Now, it does not support the latest frame generation, and it doesn't support the latest ray reconstruction. But I think there might be a way, an alternative way to actually do this, and the way to do it is through DLSS Swapper. Now, I have a video in the description below explaining how to use DLSS Swapper, but this is an outdated version. Now, this is the newest version of DLSS Swapper. As you can see, all my games are turned into 310.1.0, which is the latest version of DLSS. And you're able to reap the benefits for those games that are not supported by Nvidia's DLSS override. You can actually inject the latest DLSS profiles into it using this tool. Now, some games might not rip the benefits of ray reconstruction and stuff like that because Nvidia doesn't support them yet, or the games have not updated like that yet. So in reality, what you're reaping off the benefits of is the new profile, which is the J preset, and an enhanced frame generation, but it is not quite like ×2 generation, and I'm gonna show you this in this video. Now, I will leave links down in the description below of one of my videos to show you how to use DLSS Swapper to swap your DLSS.dll files to those games that don't actually support none of the DLSS features, at least the newest features, and you're able to reap some of the benefits with enhanced super resolution, enhanced frame generation, and so on and so on. But without further ado, let's test these two games with the new transformer model and frame generation. Now, the first game that we're gonna test with this new DLSS transformer model is Alan Wake 2. Now, as you can see in my graph, I actually augmented the graph a little bit more so that it's easier for you guys to see it. And if you notice here, I have the graphics preset on quality, and with the new update, this right here, it's called Legacy Mode, in which it'll allow you to do the old frame generation and the old DLSS presets. More than likely, it's just ENF because it got updated with 3.8.10. But outside of the game, they allow you to do DLSS frame generation, and which generation it has depends on what you choose here, which is either off to use the legacy frame generation, or 2x, which allows you to do frame generation ×2. Now, everything is in max settings. It's got the new DLSS ray reconstruction. The path tracing is on ultra, and we're gonna test first DLSS quality. DLAA, it's pretty much native resolution. So what I'm trying to show you here is literally DLSS on quality, performance, balanced, and ultra performance modes. So with generation 2, you're gonna notice something in the graph that hasn't happened prior to having this update. And that is that once you go into the game, you can see as the graph filled the frame time with a little bit of input lag. And since I have reflex on, I believe in this one, the input lag isn't that bad. As you can see, I'm panning from left to right, up and down, and it's really not doing much different. And the picture quality looks so damn close to native resolution, which is 1440p, and the path tracing looks simply amazing. I'm just gonna walk by here, and I chose the city so that I can really show you in detail what this feature brings to the table. And let me tell you that frame generation 2 augmented my frame generation by about maybe 10 to 15% in this game. I used to do about 108 FPS, 110, it fluctuated, and now it's almost at 141 and 142, which is really good, which is what you want to see in an improvement. And it looks great. Like, if you go to the reflections right here, you can tell that these reflections look a lot better under the new transformer model and the new ray reconstruction. You can see a lot more clearer, and there's not a lot of noise. And it's because ray reconstruction is kind of a denoiser. But man, the way this game started and it played on a 4090 really horrible, and how it plays now is just phenomenal. And there it is, guys. Like, literally, like, you can see everything in here is pretty damn good, and you can barely see any artifacts. Now, I did notice some artifacts in the forest area, while I was panning left and right. And sometimes you might see like a ghosting effect when you're panning really quick. I'm trying to reproduce it. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's very subtle, but you can see the character almost double in some areas of the game when you're quickly panning like this. Now I took the blur off because obviously it's gonna be, you know, very bad to your eyes. And as you can see, the glitches that I'm talking about, again, this is like the earliest release of the patch, which happened today. And as you can see, there's like a weird glitch going around here. I'm not gonna talk to anybody. I'm just gonna focus on this. And you can see that it's still not perfect. It'll give you glitches. You know what I mean? But that's, man, I'd rather take that than ghosting, honestly, because ghosting makes the game look really horrible. And honestly, the aliasing is really good. The car reflections are looking a lot better than when it started. The water looks a lot better. It moves a lot smoother, although there's noticeable input lag now in the graph. But as I showed you earlier, it's more responsive, but you could still feel that little bit of input lag when you're using frame generations ×2. But again, it's really wonderful. Now, another thing that you're gonna notice is that my GPU is being utilized almost 100%, and I get less bottlenecks with my 5900X. This is what you want to see when you're playing a video game and you have a 5-year-old processor with only a 2-year-old card. Now, I feel really good about this. I think I can squeeze a little more performance, but I still want to upgrade the processor because let's face it, Zen 3 with the next upgrades, it's gonna be completely obliterated by a 5090 or any other 50 series cards. So let's go real quick and switch it to DLSS on balanced, so you can see that it barely changed the graphics quality with a little bit more jaggies around her hair, and you can notice a lot more the frame generation, but it's giving me a boost in performance. You could see the graphics card going down a little bit, and it's because my CPU, I'm very CPU bound, so if I go all the way to ultra performance, I'm not gonna see enough gains. But this is what balance mode looks like. I'm not gonna show you DLAA because it's pretty much native resolution, but this is the way it looks on balance mode. Now, you could see definitely a little bit of ghosting around the character. You can see maybe a little bit of distortion when you're looking up and panning. You could see it almost double, and that's due to the fact of frame generation ×2, which I wanted to show you earlier, but I couldn't produce it with the quality mode. Now let's change into performance mode. And when you switch it into performance mode, again, it's lower resolution, but you can barely tell the difference. Now you will see a lot more distortion when it comes to the frame generation being activated because of the fact that you're lowering resolution any further. So it is not completely gone, but this transformer model makes it almost look like native resolution, even on balance mode and in performance mode. Like, this is incredible. Like, you guys are seeing this as I'm panning left and right, and it just looks like native resolution. Now, we want to try it in ultra performance mode so we can wrap up and I can show you Cyberpunk 2077 the same way I did with this game. Now we go back to DLSS and we go into ultra performance mode, which is 480. And now, as you can see, it's a lot more noticeable. It's a little bit blurrier. You can see the aliasing You can see the jaggies around and the distortion around the wires and stuff like that. That artifact is still there. I mean, they gotta patch this because obviously that's not supposed to be there. But overall, if you go inside her mind and you go, let's say you go into the lamp and you're under transformer model, you barely see any distortion. But as you can see here, let's close it up. As I'm panning, you can see those little bubbles going up, which I'm not sure if that's part of the dust or it could be an artifact going around. And as you can see, it's kind of twitchy in this area. But other than that, man, it looks so much closer to native resolution than previous DLSS versions. Now, let's move on to the next game. So the next game that we're gonna test is Cyberpunk 2077. Now, this one's a very peculiar one because I'm still CPU bound on 1440p. But as you can see in the options, I'm using DLSS on quality mode with the transformer model. And I'm using DLSS frame generation. And as I stated earlier, I ran the new frame generation in this game because it doesn't have the option to give you frame generation ×2, which I do have available right now. And my settings are maxed out. The reflections are in cycle mode, which is pretty much RT overdrive. And I'm going to show you the performance and the image quality right now of this specific setting. Now, you will see that the DLSS has no sharpness and it looks almost identical to native resolution. I may change it to 4K later on while I'm doing my lossless scaling video. But overall, this looks just like native resolution. Now, I did find some glitches. Ah, crap. I got hit by somebody by crossing the street. Wow. This game is mean. But anyways, as you can see, I'm panning over here. Frame generation is still not perfect. The ×2 at least. You could see it. I'm going to show you the perfect example as to this transformer model not being perfect. Specifically in reflections and certain textures. I'm going to show you. Let me see if I can go inside the club real quick. I chose this specific part because it has the biggest amount of like reflections and lights going around so that you can see most of the glitches over here. But if you go to this area right here, the reflections are perfect, right? But if you go towards the display here, you can see that this display right here is completely blurred out. I'm not sure if it's a glitch of the game itself or a glitch of DLSS, but I haven't tried it in native resolution to be able to actually see it. I've only tried it with DLSS because RT overdrive takes a toll in this computer, specifically with this graphics card. I mean, you've seen RT overdrive in 4K and it's like 28 FPS that it runs on a decent system with a next gen processor like a 7800X3D or a 9800X3D. You could see that it still runs at like 23 FPS. But yeah, that's the only glitches other than the artifacts going on that I see in quality mode. But I am gonna tell you guys this: in this mode, once I switch to another DLSS, my game might crash. I have no idea why that happens. So if it crashes, I'm gonna switch it back, put it back into a balanced and performance and ultra performance mode, and then give you guys the video. Now, you can see me walking, it's mass smooth, and it's the same thing that happened in Alan Wake 2 when you're using frame generation ×2, that the input latency becomes double. But the mouse, I'm gonna put it in my hand, and as you can see, I'm slightly sliding it left and right so that you can see that there's barely any input lag. But again, you will notice it with something like a controller or something like that. But yeah, this is pretty much what it looks like. It looks almost like native with the exception of that little glitch over there. But I think that's mostly because of frame generation rather than image quality issues. But man, this game looks perfect. I might change it to a little bit of sharpness. I might go maybe 15% sharpness. And as you can see, it looks fantastic. It looks phenomenal. I'm gonna switch it to I think balance mode now. And it might crash, and like I said, when it crashes, I'm gonna switch back and you're not gonna see the crash. So I tested it in balance mode. It didn't crash. It did crash earlier on me. So as you could see, balance mode still looks the same as quality mode. Ah, crap. I keep forgetting about the road. I'm very new to this game, by the way. So I'm a noob in this game. Pretty much. But as you can see, there are almost no imperfections when it comes to artificial intelligence. The reflections are really good. I wish I could call my car. Oh yeah, I can call my car right now. Let me actually call my car. And I'm gonna drive with mouse and keyboard, or at least attempt to drive on mouse and keyboard, so that you can see how this works in different areas of the game. So, oh, it's kind of rough. Hold on. Little rough beginning there, mister. Ah, crap. Oh, it's mouse controlled. Okay. Oh, that's awesome. So yeah, as you can see, I'm gonna go through the city over here. And again, I'm CPU bound on 1440p. When I switch it to 1440p, it looks phenomenal. And the reflections are great. I'm crashing over here. But as you can see, as everything is going in the screen, the performance is barely lost. And the particles are there. Everything is there. The reflections are there. It looks almost identical to native resolution and quality modes, and it's pretty good. Now I'm gonna get off the car and I'm gonna actually go into performance mode, which I think it's the following mode. Now if you switch it to performance, you could see a little more performance going on, a little bit more bottleneck, especially in 1440p, but that's totally fine. This is just testing it. I did test my games with 4K prior to updating the drivers, but now that I updated the drivers, in most games, 99% of the GPU is being utilized. As you can notice, wattage is not an issue here, but in other games that don't fully support the transformer model and it has profile J, the wattage goes up a little bit. Like I've seen it go up all the way to 407 watts. And this is pretty much DLSS on performance mode. Now I'm gonna switch it back to ultra performance mode, and you can see that there's barely any difference, man. This game looks phenomenal. Got a little bit of a performance boost, but as you can see, my CPU is bottlenecking a lot more, but there's barely any loss in image quality. It's a lot smoother than before, I tell you that. Whoa! I almost got destroyed by that car, but I didn't, which is good. So, as you can see, it barely, all the profiles and presets except DLAA, obviously, they all look like native resolution. And in this game in particular, since it has a better transformer model, or you know, a more updated and recent one, they've been working on it for a while, it's able to get better quality out of it. I'm just panning through the vegetation here just to see if there's any errors or anything like that. Other than frame generation errors, I don't see much. I did see a little bit of like tearing. I'm running G-Sync, but that has to do more with frame generation times 2. But as you can see, this is like crazy. It looks insane, guys. I highly recommend, if you haven't picked up a 40 series card and you do have a 30 series cards, hold off on it, because we are getting transformer model in every card, 20 series, 30 series, all the way up to the 50 series that released it. But if you want that squeeze and performance ×2 frames generation, you either get lossless scaling, or you can cough up some money and get a 40 series card. Because right now, the 50 series cards is basically a paper launch. So I think that's it for today. And I hope I made a good analysis. Make sure you like this video and comment if you want to any other more suggestions. And stay tuned for more videos like this. Anyways, peace out.